Niki dropping not her second, but her first debut album from 88 Rising.
Oh, yeah.
Niki is the singer, pop star. We've been fans of the 88 Rising output for the most part. I mean, obviously we're waiting for that Joji album. We just listened to the Rich Brian EP. I think the 88 Rising output has been really, really good to date, and seems to be a musical group for production company that we're really tuned into. I guess how would you describe 88 Rising? Are they a group?
Yeah, it's like a label / media company. Like they do all
Right.
I think they have distribution deals with one of the major labels. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's kind of like a talent incubator as well. The founder, I forget his name, kind of started it to highlight Asian artists and help give them the opportunities that they often are lacking in the mainstream music industry. And I think 80 Rising has been a huge success in that regard. And the founder would be Sean Miyashiro, who just had a little piece of the New York Times. You can read more about him there. And I mean, think about Rich Brian, think about Joji, they're the biggest stars of the label, right? And I think even look at someone like Joji, I think is getting way bigger than I thought he would too. Like a song like Give Me Love is a bit of a TikTok song, right? But finding a way for Higher Brothers to somehow transcend being guys that are not abashed at the fact that they are super Chinese and they make music that in Chinese, and yet they're finding an audience in the West too, right? And then you kind of have Niki, who was not nearly as hyped up on 88 Rising, despite being signed to the label for several years already. I didn't really have her on my radar at all until last year on Head in the Clouds 2, the group album, on that song Indigo, where I thought she just really stole the show on that. It was a solo song, and kind of an interesting reference point for a lot of the stuff on this debut album, Moonchild.
Yeah, and Moonchild, I feel like, has some really great standout moments, but I think overall what I take away from it is it's very, very much about the feel. It's very much about the spaciness, the ambiance, and I think at times can feel a little bit samey, and I think Niki's delivery can feel a little bit samey, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that I think there's a couple songs on here which are just certified great songs. What are your general thoughts on Moonchild? And we'll maybe dissect the songs a little further.
Yeah, I guess you're right about sameness. I think there's some interesting production choices that do vary throughout this, but I was most wowed by her vocals and like the vocal choices on this. I guess like the first track, Wide Open, you have kind of like that call and response part where she's like, good grief, like really like in your ears, in your headphones. And that kind of reminded me of like what she did on Indigo on Head in the Clouds 2, where she's like, I'm your type, pause, right? Like there's just lots of like cool vocal choices, and sometimes the vocals would be like overdubbed in post and stuff. And even if, I think it sounds pretty cohesive, but
I agree.
And there's slower stuff later on in the track list. But I think, takeaway is definitely that there's a lot of highlights, and Niki is definitely a full-fledged artist, which is really cool.
For sure. One of the things that when I first listened to the album, I was like, I feel like we'd heard a similar production style before. And I think when I was looking back, it probably is off Rich Brian's The Sailor from a couple of years back. Was that even last year?
Last year.
Yeah, last year.
July.
And I think there's a lot of like similar production flares and that sort of thing in there, like a couple of like, horn sections put into places that really stand out. Like, I think it's on Celine. There's like a horn that comes in near the middle. And Celine, probably my favorite song on the whole album.
Very groovy.
Yes, definitely. And that's just more of like what I like personally. But the song right before it, Night Growler, was also a great song. Nightcrawler, sorry. I don't know why I said night. I was looking at it too. Nightcrawlers I thought was like just a fantastic song. And a little bit more like boom bappy, I guess. Like it was a little bit more like bump, like that. Like
closest to hip hop on the track list.
For sure. After that though, I feel like the second half I was a little bit not as impressed by. A little bit of that sameness came in, but overall I think, like you said, that cohesiveness just really stands out, that there's a vision with this. Don't know if it totally executed correctly, but definitely I think quality all throughout. What song stood out to you?
Yeah, I like Celine a lot. I like Nightcrawler. I also like Switchblade. Track two, I
Mm,
think really, yeah, that first half of the album is definitely the stronger half to me. Um, you have a song like Lose at the end, definitely like a pure ballad song. I think that's very well done, but not I don't like that more than I like stuff like Celine. That's just my personal taste. But Lose does seem to be gaining traction for her, so I can understand why that's popular, and I think it is well done. Um, yeah, I mean, for me, it was like the vocal effects, the production choices impressed
yeah.
me because I didn't expect that much into this. You know, for any kind of like R&B or like light pop stuff, you usually don't expect all that kind of stuff. But there were moments where the vocals kind of reminded me of like Charlie XCX choices and stuff.
Hmm.
And I feel like if you're even attempting to do that, that speaks well of you and your artistic intentions. So I was
Yeah,
definitely into it.
definitely agree. I think the other thing I would just say is, while I think she has a really strong voice, I don't like, my initial thought in hearing her sing was someone like Ariana, right? But she doesn't.
Mhm.
She just doesn't have that like high range. She goes like a
Yes.
bit like falsetto-y, but just doesn't have that like really overpowering voice. So I think where her success is going to lie is in kind of what you talked about, pairing a vocal delivery and the range of vocals that she can do around her own unique artistic sonic
Mhm.
sound. So
Yeah.
um, definitely, I think a great first album for her, and looking forward to hearing more from Niki moving forward.